Okay, Andy and John, take it away.
Eric, what did you think of tonight's match?
Yeah, it felt far more edgy than it needed to feel at the end. I think that's the nature of the situation that we're in at the moment, and we're not a team that is in a rhythm of winning games, closing games out, being clinical, being ruthless. But I think it'll be one of those that when you watch it back, it was far more comfortable than it felt at the end. Aside from the one chance they had, I think the first up to possibly 20, 25 minutes, we were very, very good, real control, had a really nice balance of enough of the ball to control the rhythm, enough of the ball to move up the pitch together, enough of the ball to keep the team connected. But we attacked quickly enough to create a load of good chances and arguably could have put the game to bed very early on. That's sort of typically for us at the moment, an inevitable messy period beyond that we smoothed out a little bit in the second half. And I think largely up until the point at which they had the chance right at the death, it was a performance that was full of control and dominance for far longer than we've been able to display over the course of the last couple of months. So it was a pleasing night, and it obviously puts us right back in the mix.
That first half hour, was it just the possession that you would chalk up why things look so good over that first half hour, or was there something?
Well, we've obviously talked over the course of the whole of this season, but particularly now we've got a much fuller group, and a group that is really well equipped to compete at this level. We wanted to be a team that can be dominant or certainly very, very competent in all the phases of the game. I felt like for the period where we struggled over a couple of months, we were very reliant on counter attacks, and we didn't have the continuity on the ball that we really want. And I think that's been a big focus over the course of the last couple of weeks, and I think we really executed that well in the first 20, 25 minutes. We looked a team that was full of personality, full of composure, players that really wanted to get on the ball, keep the ball, control the rhythm of the game, and that is something that I'll really emphasize over the course of this last period of the season. And I think you've seen it in both the Seattle game and the game today, that it's a very obvious step forward. It's a very obvious part of the evolution for us. We of course don't want to be a team that is slow, lacks rhythm, doesn't attack quickly, because we've got a lot of players that want to attack with a really high rhythm, that want to take the space in behind. And I don't think we're ever going to be a team that sits around the 60-65% mark when it comes to possession. But we have to find a better balance, and I feel like tonight was a nice step forward in that sense.
Eric, during the week, as I brought up Tanny and Kevlin Payne together, you mentioned Bongi a few times. How much was it kind of Bongi earning a spot versus Tanny kind of working his way back from?
Well, I think everyone who's watched Bongi for far longer than I have knows what a good, capable, effective player he can be at this level. And I feel like we were, again, I hate to keep referring to this middle period of the season, but I think we were very reliant on Bongi at that point to create, and almost overly so. And it was nice to see him today playing a team that wasn't so reliant on him to produce on the counter attack. And he was able to play close to Kelvin, who's obviously a really good reference point for him. And we were able to get Hassani and Robin close to him, and we played some nice combinations. We got Bongi free on the counter attack on a number of occasions. So he's earned his spot by me knowing that he has the attributes to play that position well for us. And I think he gave us a dynamism and an unpredictability which was obviously very effective in the opening stages. And it was one of the reasons that at the hour mark when we made the first change, I was very keen to keep him on, because I felt he was in a good place. And I think we now are in a position where we've got some nice tools at our disposal on that front line, and we can do a couple of different things. And I'm excited to see what we're able to get from the team and what those guys are able to produce.
There was a moment right about the time the second goal went in where you had switched to what looked like having 4 at the back and then 3 in the midfield and 3 up front. Is that sort of another club you have in the bag now, given that Jefferson Diaz is a little more comfortable at the right back spot, or is that just the way this up?
So again, it's something I've referenced over the course of this season. We want to be flexible. We want to be adaptable. I do now feel like we're back to that point where we can think about the team looking a number of different ways. And at that point in the game, in order to keep Bongi on the pitch, it's obviously far more natural for him to be playing slightly higher up if we were going to play with that front two of Kelvin and Tanny. And Jefferson, with his athleticism, is very capable of defending the outside of the pitch. So it's nice for us to be able to use that in order to adapt perhaps an opposition's subtlety in the way they play, or to make sure that we get our players on the pitch in the positions that they're comfortable. So we now have the capacity to do that, and I think in that sense we've made a couple of nice strides today.
Eric, you guys started using the long throw-ins a while ago. What is kind of the analytics behind why you guys decide to go that way so consistently?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we have players. We have probably an uncommon number of players in the team that can really throw the ball properly. And occasionally it feels very repetitive. It feels like you're not getting much from it. But I can guarantee, if you look back over the course of the season, Seattle is a very good example last week. That moments come from those throw-ins that lead to goals. Either we're getting penalties, as we did last week. We're getting corners as a consequence of throwing the ball long. We're getting territory in a very meaningful, purposeful way, and we have the capacity to score in the way that we did today. So I think it would be naive of me or remiss of me to not use that when we have players that have real weapons in that sense. So it's something that we're pretty persistent on.
Hassani Dotson was sort of the one that won the ball for the first goal. Was this one of his better performances in your view?
Yeah, I think he's been very good in the last two games. He's played with a real commitment. He's been really dialed in. He's obviously very athletic, very capable defensively, as well as what he brings on the ball with his level of energy, his capacity to steal the ball in the middle and drive and give the team a really dynamic look. So I've been really pleased with him, and he's in a good place, and has been a big part of the last two performances for sure.
What did you think of Tanny's shift?
Yeah, I think he's really good in those stages of the game where we had momentum at the point at which he came on. He adds to that momentum. He really helps you press. If perhaps he looked a little bit rusty at points on the ball, that is certainly to be expected given the length of time that he's been out and the sort of stuttering last couple of months that he's had. But it's brilliant to have him back on the pitch, because for so many reasons he's a really big part of what we're trying to do. And you obviously saw tonight the makings of a decent partnership between him and Kelvin, and then of course you've got Timu who falls into that mix as well. So we've got a really, particularly with Joaquin coming in the coming days, we've got a really healthy competition for places. And I'm certainly now in a position, as I mentioned last week, for the first time really, where you've got some genuine selection headaches, and there'll be some players that have really contributed in the last couple of games, disappointed over the course of the coming weeks, which is of course how you want it to feel.
With the goal that San Jose did score, was that just sort of a strange bounce for you, or was it a symptom?
No, it wasn't a strange bounce. It's unfortunately it's been a bit of a thread, that type of goal that we've conceded, where we lose the connection between players in the back line, and suddenly spaces are far bigger than they should be. And of course, you're always going to have messy periods in the game, in any MLS game, I'll say, but certainly against a team like those guys who attack quickly, they're direct, they've got pacey, athletic players on the front. They're dynamic. They move. They're not a really positional team. So naturally, you're going to have messy periods, and in those messy periods, you have to be really tight. You have to make sure the distances between players in the back line are as they should be, and at the point at which they scored, they weren't. And that's happened too often for us, and it's a point that we talk about relentlessly. So it's a really disappointing goal to concede in that sense, and definitely something that we will continue to work on.
That works for me.
Works for me too. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, guys.